Hello and welcome back to my channel, my friends. My name is Sam and I am a stay-at-home mum who just likes to faff with pretty things and make things and discover how to make things and trial and error, and I just basically bring you little faff videos where I show you what I've been making. And this week I have been making seed bead things. I love seed beads, I love beads, I love seed beads, I love jewellery, and I've sort of, taught myself basically how to make these. So look, aren't they beautiful? So we've got a pair of earrings. You can make them into pendants like this, and you can make the smaller versions, which are even more elegant and pretty in the ear or around the neck, or indeed you can attach them to a bracelet if you want to. Okay, so I will tell you what you need to make these beautiful things, and you only need a few ingredients. So I'll just go through a materials list and we'll get going. So then, guys, let's have a look at what we need to make these cute little pendants, earrings, whatever you want to use them for, charms for things. Let's have a look at what we need to make these. Really, really simple. You only need a few things. First of all, obviously you need beading thread. So I'm going to be using this today. It's the 1G. It's got a little bit of stretch in it. You can use something like Nozu Sunoku. I would probably use one of the more sort of elasticy beading threads. The I think probably the monofilament threads are a little bit hard, so I would go for something like this. What else are you going to need? You're just going to need some beads. So the first thing I'm going to be using is a 6mm faux pearl. These are very beautiful and by a very well-known Austrian brand, which I have a little bit of a stash of, thankfully, because I don't think they make them for the do-it-yourself market anymore. You're going to need some seed beads. I'm using 11Os. These are Miyuki Ceylon Ivory, because I thought they matched quite nicely. I'm also going to be using Miyuki Galvanized Yellow Gold. These are just what I'm using today. You can use whatever you like, whatever colours you like. 6mm, 11O, 11O. Now, if you're using another colour for the outside, like I did here, obviously just 11Os or 15Os. Actually, you can use 15Os to go around the outside. But today I'm just going to be replicating this little pretty here. All right, so that's all you need, apart from a nice little pair of scissors to obviously cut your threads. You're going to need a 10O beading needle. You could use 11O if you wanted, whatever you're happy with. A wire guardian just for this little section here in which to hang or suspend your little charm, whatever. And I think that is it. So I'll clear this away. Hopefully my camera will focus properly and we can get going and make these little guys here. Aren't they pretty? All right, so I'll see you in a few. All right, so in order to make, I'm going to make the larger one, and I'll just chat through, the difference in the smaller one, all right? Now, I don't think you want to sit here and watch me making both, so it's just as easy for me to make the larger one for you and then, show you how the smaller one works. All right, so if that makes sense. That probably doesn't, because I don't make sense a lot of the time. So you're going to take your beading thread. I'm just going to measure this out on my table. I have a measuring mat on my table. I'm going to suggest about 32 inches. All right, give or take. Come in with your little scissors. Okay, so all you need to do is, I'll do this off camera, thread your needle, and we're going to need a little bit of a tail. All right, so what I do is I just, with this more sort of elasticy thread, I give it a bit of a tug before I use it, and it just takes a little tiny bit of the elasticity out of it, but not too much. So if that's what you like to do with your thread, go ahead. So that's our thread sorted. Then we need to come in with our bead. So I'm using a 6O faux pearl, 6O, have you heard me? 6mm faux pearl here, just because I think they're very, very elegant. Very pretty, lovely size in the ears actually. Right, so let's hope that my camera does what it's supposed to do. I'll try and stay in focus. These seed bead tutorials are notoriously difficult actually, so bear with me. If it goes slightly out of focus, I'll try my best. So what you do is, probably what I will do is I will probably bring it in closer during editing. So what we want to do is put the needle up through the centre hole, and you want to leave yourself a little bit of a tail just to weave in at the end. So I'm going to suggest, I don't know, 5 inches, something like that. And then go back up under through the hole, pull it through so that the thread encompasses one side of your bead, and then go up and do the same thing again. So you want 2 anchor threads. See if I can find it. There we are, 2 anchor threads on one side of the bead, like so. And then we want exactly the same on the other side. So just turn your bead around, pop your needle up, back up through on the other side. That's 1 anchor thread and the second one. So essentially you've gone through 4 times. And you've got 2 threads on one side, 2 threads on the other. Now I know you can't see these very well because of the colour of the pearl. Trust me, they are there. Can you see those? There we are. Right, so come in with your beads. So I'm going to be starting with the 11/0 gold. All right, actually, you know what? I'll put out all the beads that I need for now. There we go. Right, well, I'll just pop those out of the way for now, then they're not getting in the way. Okie doke. So first tip is that every time you start a new round of beads, you're going to need 2 beads. Okay, right, so coming out of the top, take 2 beads like so, and pop the needle underneath your 2 threads like so, and pull through. So that essentially you have 2 beads on your pearl. Take your needle and pop it up through that second bead, and that's what anchors these 2 beads on. So that's the start of your first round. Okay, so all the way round now we just need to take 1 bead on our needle, pop your needle underneath the thread like so, pull your needle through. As you can see, that anchors it on, and then take your needle and pop it through the bead. And as you can see here, as you pull, it secures it. All right, so I'll just do another couple of these. Take your bead, needle underneath the 2 anchor threads, pull through, and then back up through your bead like so, and then pull and give it a bit of a tug. So you need to do this all the way around. So bead on, underneath your anchor threads, pull, back up through. So I'll just do this once more, keeping this tail out of the way. There we go. You hear my doggy snoring. So you'll get to the point where you are now over the whole of the bead. Ignore it, don't worry about it. You're going to be covering that with the next bead. All right, so under your anchor threads on the other side of the hole, pull, back up through, and you'll see that when you attach there, it covers the whole of the pearl bead. So don't worry about that at all. Take your bead through and under, pull, and then back up through your bead. Okay, so do that when you've got all the way round. We'll meet at the end. Okay, so I'll see you in a couple. And we're back. So this is what we have at the end. So as you can see here, This is the first bead and this is my penultimate bead. You'll find that you've got a space just enough for one more bead. All right, so I think you should have 11 all the way around a 6mm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, you don't want to stack too many because I'll show you in a second. So pop that on and back up through. All right, so it looks like you've got a bit of a space, but as you can see here, you're going to need to come down. So let me explain. Exit this last bead, and this is your first bead, which will be this way on. You want it to be that way on. So come down the top of that bead and pull. It straightens itself up, and then back up the last bead that you put on and give it a pull and a squish about, and you'll find that everything sits nice and neatly. All right, so there we have it. So that's the first round done. So to replicate this one here, we need another round. All right, so we're using the gold beads again. So because we are starting a fresh round, don't forget we need 2 beads. So pick up your 2 seed beads. Now when you are coming to this point here, you will notice this thread bridge in between each of the previous beads that you've put on. It's like a line of thread that goes in between each of the beads. You want to come underneath that thread bridge with your 2 beads. Let's do that again. Underneath the thread bridge with your 2 beads, and they sort of sit on top, but they look a bit weird at this stage, but don't worry about it because it sorts itself out. And like with the previous round, back up through the second bead like so. Again, don't worry about it. Looks a bit funky at this point, but honestly, don't worry about it. Let me just get rid of that on my finger, it's annoying me. Okay, so do the same thing again. 1 bead under the thread bridge and then back up through like so, and then another bead under the next thread bridge. Can you see that? So it's coming underneath that little bit of thread there. Pull back up through like so. Now just a quick tip for you, that because we are making the next round larger, you're not going to find that you'll put 1 bead under each thread bridge. Some of the thread bridges will need 2 beads to go underneath them. All right, not that particular one, because we're enlarging the next round. You'll find that you will need to attach 2 beads under 1 bridge. You'll know what I mean when you get going yourself. So back under. It's all about just seeing how it feels. Okay, so can you see here now we've got quite a gap in between this bead and the next bead we would put under this thread bridge here, but it's too big a gap. So in order to accommodate for the arc, I'm going to use the same thread bridge. Pop it on, back through, there you go. So can you see how that sits nicely? You don't want to put too many or too few on, but when you do it yourself, you will find that you find a rhythm, and you'll notice, like I say, that some require more than 1 bead under each thread bridge. All right, so just keep going around, picking up 1 bead under the thread bridge there, pop it on, back up through and pull, not too tightly. So this is the next thread bridge here. So we'll probably get away with that one actually. It doesn't seem to be too much of a gap in between. So under the thread bridge, back up through the bead, and it sets itself nicely next door. Another bead. Let's have a look how that looks. Yeah, that'll be fine. So you probably only have to do it once or twice on this level. But I'm going to use the same thread bridge for this, because if you can see here, this gap in between this bead and where this bead would come on is too wide. So I'm going to use the same thread bridge. But like I say, you'll understand what I mean when you do it yourself. And this also presupposes that all of the beads are exactly the same shape and size, which some of them are, some of them aren't. So just keep going around. I might as well just keep going actually and finish this little section, and we'll finish off at the end. So under the next thread, under the next thread bridge, back up through your bead, like so. All right, so get to this point here and you try and decide whether you can fit 2 beads in there or whether you can't. I think we will. Yes, we will. So up here. Now don't forget, you don't want it to be too cluttered, because if you do that, then all of the beads will sort of bunch up and it won't lay flat. Like this lays flat, but if you put too many beads on, it will sort of bunch up and it just won't look right at all. So, but again, you'll see what I mean when you do it yourself. So we've got 1 bead left here, under this thread bridge here, up through, and then up. There we are. So here we are at the end. So the same thing applies. Bring your needle back down the first bead that you put on, give it a bit of a tug, back up the last bead and tug, and that secures everything in. All right, so as you can see here, okay, beautiful, beautiful. I know I say that word a lot, don't I? But they're really pretty, these. Okay, so that's our first 2 rows of golden beads on. So let's bring in our little pearl beads now, and we're going to do 2 rounds of the pearl beads. You'll find that when you do it around a 6mm bead, that each round has an odd number, which is exactly what we want. We don't want an even number of beads, certainly at the end, because of where the picot edging is. We've got a little bead spare in the middle, which is what we want for our wire guard, so that we can suspend the charm off an earring or whatever. So make sure you've got odd numbers going all the way around. So I shall start this one off and then we'll meet back. So 2 of your next colour underneath the first thread bridge, and then back through the first bead. Okay, so you just go all the way around, doing the same thing that you did before, whilst I close my door because I can hear somebody doing their gardening. That's probably very discordant on film. So back through. Okay, 1 bead through the thread bridge, back up through. You literally just do that all the way around. Sometimes popping 2 beads under the same thread bridge because you are widening the arc, obviously because you're making the circle larger, aren't you? So you'll get into the swing of how it looks when you do it yourself. I hope this is making sense. If it's not, I'm sure you will let me know. Just keep going round and going round and going round, and we'll meet at the back end. Okay, so I'll see you in a few. Okay, so here we are right back at the beginning again, and as always, we need to bring these 2 together. So pop your needle through that bead, give it a bit of a tug, and then back up through the last bead that you put on, and you'll find that everything falls into place. Okay, you may have a tiny little gap in between a couple of beads, but it's better that than have them all clumping up. Don't worry about it. Okay, so I'll just secure that a little tighter, back up through. There we are. So as always, you always want to start with your thread coming out of one of the beads. All right, so we do exactly the same thing again. This is the last round of the circular beads. So like I say, make sure that you have odd numbers of beads here. Whoops, I just flicked those across the room, never mind. Oh dear, are you like me and have like rooms in your house that are just absolutely covered in beads? Yeah, I'm sure you are. So first thread bridge with the 2 beads, and then up like so, and then literally just do the same thing. It's very therapeutic making these, I've found. They're very pretty, very elegant, and if you are of that sort of persuasion that you like simple and elegant, I think these are really, really perfect. Plus, they don't take an awful long time to make, so if you wanted to, I don't know, sell these at craft fairs, that, you know, I think they would probably sell extremely well, because they, you know, you can do a variety of colours. I'm into the summer colours, obviously, because it's summer here at the moment. Very, very warm yesterday. Very warm indeed. So I was supposed to film this yesterday. Just wait a second. I have crossed my, wait a minute. I'm just going to come back to you because I have done an error here. Let's keep the errors in, it's fine. And I'm back, so I literally just crossed my thread over and it went a bit funky, but that's okay. We like to just keep errors in, don't we? Because we're all human. Anyway, as I was saying, as I was doing this, that these would sell really, really well. And if you wanted to make all sorts of colours, can you imagine these in Christmas colours? You could use gold and green and red, maybe. Perfect for Christmas. Or you could make some in lovely Halloween colours, maybe. If you like to celebrate, you know, sort of holidays and seasons, perfect for that. Absolutely perfect. And, you know, I think that these would be gifting, you know, really good for gifting. Make yourself and your friends some for Christmas or whatever. Lovely. So keep going round and keep going round. All right, so if we keep going round, and I will meet you back at the end, and then we'll talk ourselves through the next stage. So I'll see you in a few. And here we are, my friends, right back at the very, very beginning, and we'll put our last bead in and finish this round off and close it. So up through the last bead, down through the first, up, and if you want to secure it really, really well, just do that again. So up, down and up, and give it a tug. So you'll find that that sits nice and flat, at least it should, if you've done it right. And because the thread has a little bit of elasticity, just give it a little bit of a tug if it's not sitting quite right, which that one does, thankfully. So there we go. How's that? Very pretty, huh? So let's get rid of these beads here because we're done with those. So if you wanted to make it into a pendant, a brightly coloured one, how pretty is that? I'm wearing this on my gold chain. Beautiful. You need to be putting a wire guardian on next, all right? Sorry, you don't want to be doing that. Next, you want to be doing your Picot edge next. So I've used these little turquoise ones for this one. You could use 5/0s if you wanted to. These are very, very tiny, aren't they? But I'm just going to use the gold to go with this one here. So this is the next round. So each one of these picots, so actually let's just double check that we should have an odd number of beads here. So let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So you need an odd number of beads on your last row. Right. Take 3 beads. Make sure that your thread is coming out of one of these beads. Out. take 3 beads onto your needle and down the next bead. All right, so obviously if you're left-handed, work to the left. If you're right-handed, work to the right, and pull these beads down. And what you're wanting is for that shape. That's what you're looking for. That's a picot edge. So when you've done that, come up the next bead on, like so. Give it a bit of a tug. 1, 2, and 3. 3 beads on. So you've come out of this bead here, and you want to go down this bead here, like so. So you've come down this bead here, you want to go up this one here, like so. Another 3, 1, 2, and oops, 1, 2, and 3. So you've come out of this one to go down this one. All right, so you just do that all the way around. You've come down this one, go up the one next to it, like so. And 1, 2, 3. I hope you enjoy making these. They're extremely pretty, I think. Very, very, very simple to make. Very pretty. All right. 1, 2, and 3. Out of this one, down this one. All right, so keep going all the way around. And again, so you're not watching me doing this. It's quite boring once you know what you're doing. I will meet you back at the end, and then we'll go through what to do next. Okay, so I'll see you in a few. Right, here we are, my friends. We are back at the beginning, and you will notice, hopefully, if you've done this right and you've got like an odd number on your last pearl bead row, that you've got one gap here, one bead. All right, so you need to go up that bead so that your thread comes up through that singular bead in the center. You see that? Lovely. Right, let's do the next part, which is to attach your wire guardian. I like these things. It means that you can use your thread without any issues of your wire rubbing through the thread and that kind of thing. So wire guardians are a really good thing. So hopefully you've got enough thread left without there being too much left over, between 30-32 inches, something like that. Right, so come out of that center. Let me pick this up and show you. Come out of that center bead there. Pop your needle up through one side of your thread guard and up. Bring your thread guard down, like so. And if you've used thread guards before, obviously you need to go over the top and back through that side of the thread guard and then back down through that center bead. All right, so the first pass is through the center bead, through the one bead. Guide your thread to the top of the thread guardian. All right, so that's what it should look like. The next thing you want to do is to come up through the bead that's next to that center bead here, like so, and pull up, and then through this side of your thread guardian and up through. So you're going to have 2 passes around your thread guard. Come on, that's it. Why is it doing this? Because I'm on camera. That's it, it's just gotten caught on a bead. All right, then back down through your thread guard, like so. So it comes out of there. And guide it around. And then back through the bead that's next to on the left of the center bead. So the second pass is, the first pass is through the center bead, and the second pass is through each of the beads on either side of the central bead. I hope that makes sense. There you go, like so. Get everything a little bit of a tug. That's fine. Good. So that's your disc made. Isn't that pretty? So all you need to do now is to finish this off. So just come down alternate beads like so. So I call this the front side, so I'm just going to pop that through to the back like so, and then back up another couple of beads. Because you're wearing these in your ears, or you know, they don't need to be, I mean, you can tie them off if you want to, doesn't need to be, I don't think. As long as you go through and then through, it's fine. And then very, very carefully snip off your excess like so. That's it. Give it a bit of a tug so it sits flat. It might want to curl up on you a little bit, but you know, this is why we use the elastic sort of thread, so that it's got a little bit of a give in it. So you can give it a bit of a tug. So this is the original thread that came out of the bottom of the pearl, if you remember. So again, all you need to do is just find a couple of beads to go up and down. So up and back down, just to secure the thread. I don't think it needs, you know, sort of all sorts of knots in it. I just don't think that they do, but that's up to you. If you want to knot them, you can. Just knot them towards the back side, you know, choose a side and snip. There we go. So there is our little beautiful disc. Isn't that pretty? So what we need to do now is just make sure that all of these beads are sitting, the picots are sitting correctly, which they are. And then all you have to do now is attach your chosen attachments. So I'm going to make the matching earring to this. There we go. And there we go. On. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Aren't they pretty? Beautiful. I'll just show you in my hand so you can see the size of them. Really, really pretty. Gorgeous in the ear. Very, very pretty. And let's have a chat about the smaller version. If you really, really wanted to be smaller than that. So instead of doing 2 rows of gold, you do 1 row of gold and then 1 row of the pearl coloured beads and then your picot edging. So essentially it's half the size of that one. So you've got 2, 2 and picot, 1, 1 and picot. All right, so you can use these as little charms, you know, hanging off a bracelet perhaps, or something like that. Aren't they pretty? Really, 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 really pretty, I think. So have fun making those. Let me know how you get on. They are beads and they are pretty, and we're happy, aren't we? There we go. Have a super, super week, guys, and I will see you in my next video. I have lots of plans for some rings. So really, really easy, certainly perfect for the beginner, which is what I hope my channel is geared towards, the beginner. All right. There's no barrier to making beautiful things, even if you are just starting out. I'm not an expert and I'm still learning as I'm going. I'm just sharing with you what I've made. Okay, so I'll see you in my next video. Bye.